Hello everyone, good evening. I hope everyone is doing fine. So again, this is an unplanned session, and there is we would be discussing about like what we feel about the market at this point in time, and especially the ongoing vibrant Gujarat Summit 2024, wherein Mukesh Ambani made some very strong statement. And obviously, the whole ecosystem is developing and the conducive atmosphere for investment within our country, and all the aspects of investing. I mean, growing about the state's economy, especially Gujarat, and as a nation as a whole, like we are progressing big time. So obviously, this these summits play a very vital role and set a platform so as to showcase that we are open to everybody, and we are progressing from a place where doing business was not that easy, and these days we are providing platform not only to the Indian entrepreneurs, but across the world. The world is looking up to us, and definitely we are in a very sweet spot. So a candid conversation I'm expecting today. So anyone who has any thoughts to share, like how they are placing themselves at this point in time, or what they feel about these type of summits, and any takeaways they have. So definitely look forward to that. And I also see Vajpayee ji, Meet Pai, and many others. So just in case you guys are free, so feel free to chip in and share your thoughts so that we can start with the conversation. And as and when we progress, so definitely there would be some good thoughts coming from the audience, and also we will try to take the questions. Again, there are no right answers, but we try to answer your questions best in our capacity. So look forward to that. And just in case any issue sending the invite or maybe anything, so you can simply type in your thoughts or comments, or maybe questions in the comments, or you can DM me. So definitely, at this point in time, everybody is optimistically cautious. So people have a well, basically, they have a mindset of keeping some dry powder, because everybody has that perception that we might see some kind of correction going forward. And when the correction happens, you should have some cash to deploy. So that's what we feel, because in when the markets are around all-time high, so there are high chances that we see some volatility, and that brings, say if the broader market corrects 5-10%, so there are high chances that some good companies may correct 15-20%, and that is again the best time to add those companies which you have studied, or maybe they were part of your watch list and you were looking for some correction to add them. I see Jiten sir, not sure sir is free or not. Sir, I would request, in case you are free, so would love to chatter around if you would like to share your thoughts around key. What's the market outlook at this point in time? I'm not sure how much my interpretation is right on this aspect, as I only understand very few aspects of technical analysis. So I was seeing the charts which were very well shaped and good charts, but again there was some abnormal activity, in the sense some red candles from very good setups. So maybe pullback, or my understanding is weak. But again, I'll come to that. Meanwhile, Jiten sir has joined. Hi, Jiten sir.
Hello.
So क्या लग रहा है sir? Like it's long time, so I thought कि I should have some random session. So would love to hear your thoughts. Although we had interacted last month also. So वाजपेयी जी अभी आ रही है आवाज?
हाँ आवाज आ रही है प्रिंस जी, मेरा माइक ओपन नहीं हो रहा था, उसमें उसका कनेक्टिविटी प्रॉब्लम लगता हो गई थी।
इसलिए मैं बोल नहीं
चलो
पा रहा
कोई
था।
नहीं सर, अभी अभी सुनेंगे। आप क्विकली आप बताएं सर, क्या लेवल्स लग रहे हैं और कैसे आप मतलब ब्रॉड मार्केट आपको टेक्निकल्स के बेसिस पे कैसा क्या लग रहा है?
देखो प्रिंस जी, टेक्निकल के बेसिस पे तो मार्केट अभी तक कोई मेजर सपोर्ट ब्रेकडाउन हुआ नहीं है। जब तक कोई मेजर सपोर्ट नहीं ब्रेक होता है तो मार्केट का अप ही माना जाता है। अभी इस महीने के लिए मैं एक लेवल बता रहा हूँ, 21,000। एक सेकेंड बस। 21,238, 1,200 मान सकते हैं। 21,200 के ऊपर जब तक रहेगी मार्केट, तब तक बायस बुलिश का बना रहेगा। ये जो हम लेवल्स शेयर करते हैं हर महीने के, जो पिवट लेवल है, इसके बेसिस में बता रहा हूँ। महीने की जब शुरुआत होती है तो ये पिवट पिछले मंथ के हाई लो एंड क्लोज के एवरेज से निकाला जाता है। तो वो जब तक उसको होल्ड करता है तब तक ये समझ लीजिए कि पिछले महीने के जो बुल्स हैं वो प्रॉफिट में जब तक रहेंगे तब तक वो बुलिश ही बना रहेगा। जब एक बार वो लेवल ब्रेक होता है तो फिर नीचे के लेवल खुलने शुरू हो जाते हैं। तो 21,238 मतलब वो बिल्कुल एग्जैक्ट लेवल है। जब उसके नीचे से क्लोज होना शुरू होगी मार्केट तो हम ये मान के चलेंगे कि अब जो अप ट्रेंड चल रहा है हुआ है। वो हाल्ट परमानेंट तो नहीं माना जाएगा, बट फॉर द टाइम बिंग हो जाता है। तो ये तो फिलहाल इस महीने के पर्पज से मैं बता रहा हूँ। लास्ट 2 मंथ में हमने जो भी मूव्स देखे वो सबके सामने ही रहे। कोर्ट के लेवल हमने शेयर किए नवंबर की शुरुआत में, जब अक्टूबर में मार्केट बहुत डाउन थी। तो नवंबर में जैसे ही हमने पिवट को क्रॉस किया, हमने लगातार अपमूव देखा। तो ये हमारा टेक्निकल लेवल तक हमें मार्केट में ये हमें
राइट सर।
पड़ेंगे उसी पर्सपेक्टिव से। क्योंकि देखिए एक चीज मैं बार बार कहता हूं कि स्टॉक्स का मूवमेंट जो है वो अगेंस्ट द मार्केट भी कार होता है। जैसे आप केमिकल्स के स्टॉक को देखिए तो 2 दिन में अभी आपके केमिकल स्टॉक ने 5 से लेकर के 7%, 8% तक का फॉल दे दिया। जबकि निफ्टी
बैकग्राउंड में कुछ चल रहा है क्या? देयर इज सम नॉइस व्हिच इज
नहीं,
कमिंग।
बैकग्राउंड में तो कुछ नहीं है।
वॉइस आ रहा है। एनीवेज आप क्विकली समराइज करें, देन वी गो टू नितिन सर।
नहीं ठीक है, तो मतलब मेरा व्यू फिलहाल जब तक वो लेवल हमारा होल्ड करेगा तब तक बुलिश का रहेगा। उसके नीचे फिर आने पर इंडेक्स पर बेरिश होगा। अदरवाइज स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक जैसे भी उसके लेवल्स ब्रेक होते हैं तो उसके हिसाब से बेरिश और बुलिश का व्यू बनाता हूं मैं। और वो मोस्टली मैं अपने टाइमलाइन पर शेयर भी करता रहता हूं जो स्टॉक मुझे बुलिश दिखते हैं। उनके लेवल्स भी शेयर करता हूँ, सो दैट अगर
राइट।
लेवल ब्रेक होता है तो आप अकॉर्डिंगली अपने व्यू को चेंज कर लीजिए। जी।
राइट सर। राइट सर, थैंक यू। So we also have Sushil ji. Sushil ji, over to you. We were discussing about the market outlook and any. Yeah, Jiten sir, you were saying something. You unmuted him.
No, no, I might have to just drop for a second because there is some issue with the sound. So I'll drop and come back again.
Sure, sir. Sure, please. Yeah, Sushil ji, over to you.
Thanks for getting me on board. I've come in pretty late, so I run the risk of speaking on a plane different from where the conversation was. Um, I'm not sure how much time we have on this space and for how long it has been running. Will it be appropriate if the co-hosts just want to give me some rudder, some direction, maybe in say 5 or 6 sentences synopsis of what we've been talking, so I can try and speak in context?
So, Sushil sir, broadly, like this is a spaces wherein we discuss the broad market outlook in the sense what's happening, and I mean how one is placing themselves in this point in time. And then we had a questionnaire on different sectors with Nitin sir and Jiten sir.
Okay, so maybe I can speak on some broad stuff that will add value. So 3, 4 statistical irregularities that are kind of on my head, on my mind right now in this point of time. Some of them are contradicting. I'll try to resolve them. See, the history of Indian general elections, the union government elections, is that 6 months ahead of the elections, if anybody starts putting in cash into the market, 1 month after the election, start 6 months before and until 1 month after the election. Sorry, irrespective of the election outcome, whether a fractured mandate or a whopping mandate, whether a mandate to Congress or BJP, irrespective, Indian stock market has produced positive returns. I kept on thinking why this might be. And one plausible rationale, I'm not sure if it is an explanation, but maybe it's a rationale. Whichever way you take it, I can't ignore the statistics on the table. That the sense of uncertainty, either a sense of uncertainty when fractured mandates are fought, or if this time it looks like BJP is playing decisive, even then, the sense of anxiety, or the sense of fear. See, in any case, मन में थोड़ी सी घबराहट रहती है, इलेक्शन है, सामने इलेक्शन है, जरा सावधान रहने का है. So that creates maybe an underbought sentiment. Stock price charts may, because of their mathematical limitations, may continue to show that the indices broadly are very overbought and all. But there are optical illusions on those charts also. I, being a hardcore chartist, after I look at everything, I'll take a final decision based on charts to keep. And why do I look at everything else, including fundamentals, macro, corporate access, broker के operators क्या कर रहे हैं, fund managers क्या कर रहे हैं, दिमाग है तो उसको चलाना है दिन भर. But I'll share my weakness. I finally will listen to charts because they provide me an exit. They provide me an earliest signal that I'm going wrong somewhere. So I will speak from a blend. So when markets get overbought on the charts, the fastest moves, both on the downside and upside, come after RSI is crossed above 70 or below 30, because these indicators, the momentum indicators, are bounded indicators. They can't go below 0 or go above 100. So the fastest moves or the biggest moves actually happen after markets get, technically speaking, overbought and oversold. So I'll keep those overbought and oversold around separated. The other statistical anomaly that is very critical for India, even with counting interim budgets, that is election year ke jo budgets hote hain, they are more or less a statement of accounts, and really any responsible government can't get away with making any major policy changes. So as it is, over the last 15 to 20 budgets, most of the policy has been shifted out throughout the year, but still budget remains psychologically, emotionally, sentimentally, positionally a very important event for the stock markets. Except for 3 budgets in 46 years, the Indian stock market has failed to produce a good response to the budget. What the statement means is, only in 3 budgets, the prevailing market trend before the budget continued after the budget. The budget turns out to be, the budget calls the budget calls out the fool of the market. So ahead of the budget, see, if I'm going to now imagine, all forecasts are in imagination first, and then one can study either by their favorite school of fundamentals, technicals, or quants, the past. You imagine the future first, make a construct, and refine that imagination, make it limited, make it responsible by studying the past. You can't automatically project the past into the future. So all forecasting is an imagination, which is tempered down with the study of the past. So I look at another, so the anomaly of the election plus the budget. So can the budget create a downfall, and then we'll have a poor February? Combining many other studies and not elucidating each and every point because I have too many points to cover, I would prefer, if both of them are to continue to sustain, both statistical anomalies will not be defied this year, then I prefer a correction to be happening in January on statistical reasons, not on personal reasons. Now I come back to the US markets. First 5 days of what the market does in January there. Last 50 years of data, 80% of the time, the month of January will do that. First 5 days, US was down. Now come to the present day. As I'm talking to you, I'm keenly watching all the US market charts. On one hand, the dollar index is in a good correction starting from 107, and only a temporary feeble rally is up there. But at the same hand, the deep decline in the US interest rates that has happened over time. Last 6-7 days, a small rally has begun. And if I must take a bet for tonight, while the inflation numbers are going to come out, the CPI is going to come out, the interest rate looks like will make a breakout. Next 4 or 5 days, it will go up. But the dollar index is not ready to go up. So this does not add up to me if inflation numbers are going to be harsh and Fed expectations are going to be watered down and street is going to panic, then how dollar index will also go down. So maybe there's flush liquidity into the system. That's the rationale every time Wall Street gives, that both dollar index can go up as well as the stock market can go up. So we can't explain everything, and that's why technical analysis also comes into place. Particularly the more shorter term you get, the place for rational and wisdom is for slightly longer term moves. So combining all of these together, my sense to the markets is we might continue to see some more rally into the equities over the next few days. Why this hunch gathers more force? When, say, at the last stop at 22,100 or whatever, we sounded like foolish, bold people, which most of the time we sound like that. But actually, we have zero ego. हमको कोई गधा बोलेगा तो परवाह नहीं है. हमारे पास स्टॉप लॉस हमको चार्ट का सुनना है. So we don't use our brains. We go with the charts. So when we called out a top for maybe say 1,000 point correction, what I found in the motion of Nifty, even though at 22,100, almost all the Nifty 50 stocks except the two Adani stocks and Lever and maybe Asian Paints and maybe just take out Reliance, the remaining 45 stocks were all coalesced together to make a corrective pattern. 45 out of 50 stocks correcting 1,000 point slide is easy. But the goddamn thing did not work out the way I envisaged. Indeed, 5-6 days we had a very soft correction, and rotational correction has come in. Some stocks have gone down while whipping up of Adani happened, Reliance happened today. So the big boys call it the manipulation or call it the desire of the markets. For me, I got hesitant. So what if we made a public call? 1,000 point correction is on the way. We wrapped up our shorts broadly because there is a deep reluctance for the markets to go down on one hand in the large caps. And on the other hand, when I look at, say, 100 odd B group stocks on which we have sustained buy calls going on for the last 1 year, 6 months, that across the board, about 80 out of those 100 stocks, as a number, as just a rough representation, about 80% of the B group stocks are actually just into a consolidation mode for taking a further jump up. So maybe India markets see a rally for another week or 8-9 days. And then we have a soft correction in January. A Nifty going down by 1,000 points is peanuts for the ferocious internal momentum of the markets. A 5% dip in Nifty, everybody is going to later on classify that as a healthy correction, so-called. But if you're positioned in the wrong stocks, there may be a deep dive of 20-30% also, even in the large caps. So it's a very stock-specific market. And as of now, my reading of the markets is, come some extreme event, if a 5% correction broadly on the Nifty and some of the large caps correcting by 10% happens, there is more money to be made even in the month of January and certainly February, March, and April to be on the long side. Now, combining this with a call we often take on crude, we've been active on crude for close to 20 years, and that doesn't make us any better experts. I can always go wrong on the next trade. My sense is crude is going to rally close to 50%. It has come down very, very low compared to what it had gone in the day of the Russian war. It's significantly lower from there. So crude bouncing back, and I'm talking about light crude, not WTI, which is $3-4 higher. Light crude bouncing back to 100 plus is not bad news actually. See, the shrewdest manipulators of any markets in the world are the sovereigns, the OPEC and the non-OPEC, who control the crude cartel. So in an oligopolistic market structure, it is my sense, I can be totally wrong, and I'm happy to discuss it without debating or fighting. I'm happy to discuss it, take any criticism, I can learn more out of it. The shrewdest 20 players in the world have greater stakes to sense the strength of all other economies. And the price of crude is the most sensitive to risk on. It's the yellow canary in the coal mine. Crude का चार्ट सबसे पहले रश आउट हो जाता है तेजी मंदी में. If crude going up or going down is related to the economy, कि crude घटेगा तो economy का भला हो जाएगा. The day crude traded at zero, all economies in the world were at zero. So crude is the harbinger of, crude is the best predictor of the coming economic strength. Crude is a strength, crude is a rent you pay on the opportunity to do business. Cost of energy is a rent on business. The rentals in real estate will go up, salaries will go up, and price of crude will go up. It's my thesis, and data supports it. When economies are going to go up and crude goes down in advance, तो crude पहले घट जाता है और बाद में इकोनॉमिक नंबर्स को देख करके लोग दुनिया शॉर्ट करती है, क्रूड बढ़ना शुरू हो जाता है. So unless and until there is a major disruption or a mega geopolitical event, crude price going up is an indicator of risk on for me. So even if Wall Street indices are looking crazy at all-time highs, I think dollar index eventually sliding down to 98 or 97 over the next 3-4 months, combining with crude going up, which will suppress gold, is actually good for the stock market. And this sense of a little disbelief, a little sense of vertigo around these levels is actually good for sustaining greater bullishness here. This is my thesis as of now. If things change, I'll have to you know gobble back what I'm sprinkling out of my mouth right now while speaking. But as of now, I think the odds are much more loaded in favor of somebody who will stay on course in the markets. Of course, stock rotation, sector rotations will be necessary. Quickly, in a minute or two, few sectors which we found real underdogs. See, क्वार्टरली नंबर्स जब इंप्रूव हो जाएगा तो आपका ये अतुल आरती इंडस्ट्रीज यूपीएल 30% ऊपर मिलेगा. So we wager on look ahead basis. We try to move our money to where the big boys are doing it, and that works well with charts, and we can then justify the charts. Sometimes they go wrong. A lot of the times, the news comes much later, the chart moves first. So whether this rise in crude is going to make energy costs impossible for European manufacturers to sustain their dadagiri and all the noises that the European Commission is making on controlling certain imports of certain chemicals will all cave down. Necessity is the mother of all inventions. The crude prices going up can't create that. See, refineries were supposed to be, the oil marketing companies were supposed to be screwed in India with the rise of crude. But because Europe is getting screwed right now, this entire scenario of war is actually pummeling Europe. Whoever is controlling the strings of the global theater, it's Europe being brought down to its knees economically. A 10-15 year cycle of crashing European valuations is going on. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but at the same time, I cannot miss number of things that are beyond explanation. So if not a conspiracy theorist, at least a forecasting adventurer or somebody who freely imagines the future. So I'm wrapping up my points. Chemicals is something where we see a situation of surprises after surprises. And whatever chemical stocks you are comfortable with, you understand, whether through your fundamental sieves or otherwise, I would strongly be backing the chemical sector. That's what we are doing with our clients. Now, a smaller fry though, textile stocks are not so huge. And while, the Himmat Singh IDs of the world have already really, really moved up, I do see a sustained decline coming in global cotton prices. So few companies only in India can gain out of it. And that assumption is again overstretched. Those who have to consume to manufacture, they're actually, hedging their spread. So if they're unhedged, maybe they can gain. So cotton is something that will decline. And those corporates, if you can speak to them and figure out their hedging strategy, only then on an underlying input price going up or down, you should take a bet on that company. Most producers are not speculators of the underlying commodity. They are keeping their raw material input hedged and output hedged. So be cautious with the cotton prices suddenly starting coming down a lot and people making wrong bets on textiles. And then sugar I think has been slammed too badly, and this re-revision of the policy is just keeping some awkward trading dramas in the market. बलरामपुर चीनी F&O में मार्केट वाइड पोजीशन लॉक्ड है तो इसलिए स्टॉक मूव नहीं कर रहा है, कैश में उठा के बैठ जाओ. आई थिंक बलरामपुर चीनी विल गैलप बैक 30-40% and then the number of sugar stocks will go up. The charts are clearly speaking that, but charts को यहाँ पे रोक लिया गया है as if somebody has put a pause button on time and is just doing his own accumulation. Once that is done, ये F&O के बैन 2 मिनट में हट जाते हैं. कैसे ऑपरेटर्स सारे मिलकर के एक साथ F&O बैन कर देते हैं, पब्लिक एक्सपोजर ले नहीं सकती है, वो ब्रोकर फंडिंग करा करा के माल पीते रहेंगे. जिस दिन इनकी चार्ट्स ऊपर चलने लग जाए, we'll jump into sugar also. We are clearly getting out of all oil marketing companies and have in fact begun shorting them. A A Chennai Petro that we picked up at 150 and from 550 to 650 we got out. अगर stock borrowing mechanism में ढंग से माल मिल सकता तो even I don't mind shorting it. The oil and gas story is done with. And the next rise in oil prices, what with elections around here, government is not going to pass back that comfort to these oil marketing companies. Modi juggernaut will have to pass on the punishment to the oil marketing companies, a thesis on which, backed with the charts, we are going short on those stocks. And I think, metals are at a very creepy point, particularly stocks like Hindalco. I won't be surprised to see a mega slide coming in them at some point in time for whatever reasons build up. I've spoken for a long time. I could have spoken of more stocks and sectors, but that's my broad submission, knowing fully well that you guys have been around for many hours. So that's what I like to wrap it up at. And if there is anybody who's objecting to my thoughts and host and co-host feel there's more time, I don't mind taking any questions politely. Thank you for
Thank you,
indulging
sir.
me.
We have two speakers. We'll take their questions and then we can continue for another 10-15 minutes to listen to your insightful thoughts. So, Prashant, you can unmute and ask your question. Prashant? Okay, in that case, Dhaval Shah. Dhaval, you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Uh, Good evening. So, my question is on couple of fronts. One is I want to understand, or on a larger role that the Indian retail investor is playing in the current market scenario. Because if we see during the war times and post war, also the war is continuing. But the point is, in between, there was a time where FIIs were selling continuously month after month after month, 45,000 crore, 50,000 crore. Yeah. In previous, let's say 7, 8 years before, had it been this kind of a scenario, we would have seen heavy market crash. But in today's time, the retail investors through DIIs and everything has stood up to the challenge. And what we see is that net effect is currently coming to almost 100, 200 crore of selling, which is keeping the market in pace, right? So that is point one. Point two, sir, you have talked about the oil benefit that can be Modi government will not be able to transfer to the oil company. So by that you are meaning that the extra money that the government would be getting would be then further be reinvested into the welfare schemes, and hence the benefit will not get transferred. So is there that kind of a scenario? And sir, can you briefly just give a general economic scenario that the current at current pace that we are targeting a 7.3% kind of a growth rate, and if we are able to sustain the same kind of a growth rate in the coming years, where do you see market going in, let's say, 2 to 3 years time? And fourth, and sorry, I'm putting three, four things together. Fourth, there is a naked short that the CBS banned 5 days before. So, any views on that?
Sushil, sir?
I'm really sorry, Dhaval. I'm really sorry. You didn't mention right at the beginning of your very long question who's this pointed for. So I was in general listening to it and got a bit distracted. And you added so many points. Do you
Uh,
mind paraphrasing it and simplifying it? What are your key points that you want to ask? In one, two lines, all your key points.
yeah,
It's
yes.
too long a question to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
absorbed
I understood. I
appropriately
understood. I understood. I understood.
because it makes a
Uh,
lot of assumptions. If 7.3% growth, if
correct,
this,
correct,
then
correct,
that.
correct, correct,
तो बहुत लंबा
correct,
हो गया इसको आप पॉइंटेड बुलेट्स में बोलिए तो फिर मैं उस पर
correct,
फटाफट रिएक्शन देता हूँ
correct, correct, correct. So
रिस्पेक्टिंग एवरीबडी एल्सेस टाइम
correct. So the first point was that our Indian markets are independent of the FIIs selling and buying that keeps on happening. So point was that in war times and everything, we kept on seeing that FIIs kept on selling 45,000 crore, 50,000 crore month after month, but DIIs kept on buying at the same time.
double long essays will not be understood as a question. Just come to the question on this
Right.
point,
So the question,
point by point you raise questions, I'll answer them because you're combining 10 questions with long essays. मैं भाई थोड़ा सा थका हुआ हूँ, मेरे
ठीक
पास
है
इतना
ठीक है
आईक्यू
ठीक है।
इस वक्त
तो
नहीं है।
the short question is, are retail investors now becoming the backbone of Indian markets?
दैट्स ए irrelevant question. प्लीज डोंट माइंड माई डिसमिसिंग इट दिस वे. आज से नहीं, मैं पिछले 25 साल से कहते आ रहा हूँ कि पैसे का रंग नहीं होता है. गोरे का पैसा गोरा और काले का पैसा काला नहीं है. पैसा पैसा होता है. फॉर एवरी बायर देयर इज अ सेलर. Any volume that happens in the market, buying is equal to selling. Stock prices don't move because सेठ ने माल लिया और गरीब ने बेचा, या गरीब ने लिया और सेठ ने बेचा. बाइंग सेलिंग हमेशा इक्वल होती है. कोई ले ले, कोई चंद आ जाए, कोई चंद बेच जाए. तो देन हाउ डू द प्राइसेस मूव? Prices move up when buyers are more anxious than sellers, not because who's the buyer. Prices move down when sellers are anxious and buyers are less anxious. So whether market operators have cornered a stock and now they are whipping up as open buyers, and the bid ask spread is more aggressively keeping on each moment of trade. If the bid is more aggressive than the ask, if the asks are keeping on getting hitting, prices keep moving. Once and for all, get this simple fact in mind. रुपया रुपया है, चाहे वो किसी का हो. सो अब रिटेल आ गया है और एफआईआई आ गया है. पहले एफआईआई को इतना ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस दिया गया, अब रिटेल को दिया गया. गलत. एक इस इंडिकेटर पे 4 बार राइट हो गए, एक दिन इतनी बुरी तरह रॉन्ग हो गए, साल भर की कमाई चली जाएगी. My humble submission, even though I most often speak aggressively and fast, but please take it as a very humble submission. मैंने मार्केट से जूते खा खा के इस बात को समझा है. जूते खाए बहुत, और मैं नहीं चाहता हूं आप लोग भी उतने जूते खाओ. तो सबका चमड़ा उतना मोटा नहीं होता है. पर बॉटम लाइन ये है, पैसा पैसा होता है. गोरे काले दोनों का पैसा एक ही कलर का होता है. नोट का कलर नहीं चेंज हो जाता है. वो लाइट पिंक नहीं हो जाएगा हमारा. अच्छा 2000 का तो नोट चला गया तो लाइट ग्रीन नहीं हो जाएगा 500 का नोट. सबके लिए सेम कलर का नोट रहेगा. सो एंजाइटी ऑफ बायर्स ओवर सेलर्स. सो व्हेन न्यूज फ्लो इज कंटिन्यूअसली पॉजिटिव, किसी का बाप ले ले, किसी का बाप बेच ले, बाजार बढ़ेगा. किसी के बाप के लेने से, किसी के बाप के बेचने से बाजार के ऊपर में घटबड़ नहीं हो सकती. ठीक है, टेम्पररी कंट्रोल ऑपरेटर्स कर लेंगे. कोई फंड मैनेजर ने आके एट मार्केट का ऑर्डर दे दिया और 4 एफआईआई के डीलर फ्रंट रनिंग मार लेंगे, 2 घंटे के लिए एक स्टॉक को इंट्राडे में पेल देंगे. बट इन द लॉन्ग रन मार्केट विल रिस्पॉन्ड टू द अंडरलाइंग रियलिटीज. किसी का बाप ले, किसी का बाप बेचे. लॉन्ग रन के लिए मैं 10 साल की भी बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, 5 साल की भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ, 1 साल की भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ. सप्ताह भर भी लॉन्ग रन है बिड आस्क के लिए. एक सप्ताह का ट्रेंड भी कोई का बाप इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं कर सकता है, और करेगा तो उसके परिणाम बहुत घातक होंगे. तो आई डोंट विश टू डिसमिस यू धवल, बट एफआईआई की ड्राइवर है या रिटेल की ड्राइवर है? आज रिटेल की कहानी होने लग गई है. डिस्टॉर्शन किया जा रहा है मार्केट के अंदर में. इंडिविजुअल्स के माइंड को डिस्टॉर्ट करने के लिए सब थ्योरीज फ्लोट होती है. तो ओनली थ्योरी इज पैसा बराबर है, और किसी भी भाव पे जितनी भी बाइंग सेलिंग हो रही है, इक्वल रुपया एक्सचेंज हो रहा है. सो हु इज गोइंग टू बी मोर एंक्शियस? Buyers will be more anxious or sellers will be more anxious? If we keep our focus on that, on the ongoing news flow, corporate flow, macro flow, we will be better placed and we will avoid any disasters. But कभी रिटेल को बाप बना लो और कभी एफआईआई को बाप बना लो, उसका एंड रिजल्ट डिजास्टर है. आई होप दैट्स अ फेयर आंसर, if not an agreeable answer, Dhaval. I'm done with this answer, Dhaval. If you have any more
Correct.
questions, let's wrap them quickly.
No, no.
Any
So
more
just
questions you
one,
had?
just one more question, that is regarding the SEBI, which bans naked short selling. Will it be having any impact on the market?
That's a total time pass. This circular has been around for a good long time. एंड नेकेड शॉर्ट सेल नहीं करना है तो ये मूर्खता वाली बात है. बी ग्रुप के शेयर्स में या कैश की, बी ग्रुप छोड़ दो, कैश की ट्रेडिंग में, नॉट द फ्यूचर्स ट्रेडिंग. इफ यू आर सेलिंग स्टॉक, राइट, इफ यू आर सेलिंग स्टॉक, यू विल हैव टू डिलीवर. इफ सेबी इज प्रिवेंटिंग ए पोटेंशियल मैल प्रैक्टिस की इतने एलिवेटेड मार्केट के स्ट्रक्चर्स पे, ये प्रिवेंशन तो 15 साल पहले हो जाना चाहिए था कि कोई इंट्राडे में लार्ज इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर एक साथ 50 लाख शेयर बेच देगा, सबका स्टॉप लॉस मरवा देगा, सबका माल बिकवा देगा, नीचे का सर्किट लगा के माल कवर कर लेगा. तो इट इज एक्चुअली गोइंग टू प्रिवेंट एनी मैल प्रैक्टिसेस एंड वेरी फ्यू पीपल माइट हैव इवन ट्राइड इट एवर. तो तो क्योंकि if anybody will try doing this level of market manipulation, वो सेबी के जो भी मार्केट वॉच स्कैनर्स उसमें पकड़ा जाएगा। रिटेल के लिए कोई नेकेड शॉर्ट से स्टॉक बोरोइंग लेंडिंग मैकेनिज्म अवेलेबल है, और डिपॉजिटरी से स्टॉक बोरो करके इंस्टीट्यूशंस हमेशा ही बेचते आए हैं। सो ए रेयर सिचुएशन ऑफ समबडी डूइंग अ डेयर डेविल एक्ट कि भैया सेबी का मार्केट मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम इज टोटली डिफंक्ट एंड दे आर नॉट एट ऑल यूजिंग इट, तो वो ऐसा ड्रामा नहीं कर ले उसके लिए। पर ऐसा आज तक हुआ नहीं है कि कोई ने भी नेकेड शॉर्ट सेल्स किए हों और इंट्राडे में पेल के सबको निकाल लिया। जो पेलाई करनी होती है मार्केट की, वो फ्यूचर से ही शुरू होती है, उसका डोमिनो इफेक्ट कैश में आता है। देयर इज नॉट बीन अ सिंगल इंस्टेंस ऑफ एनी लार्ज सेलर, वेदर एन इंडिविजुअल और इन एफआईआई सेलर, जो कोई सिंगल अकाउंट से या मल्टीपल 4-5 अकाउंट से बेच बाच के इंट्राडे में कवर कर ले और उसकी सेबी ने चमड़ा नहीं उतारा हो। तो इसको लेकर के बहुत ज्यादा ये सब जो अगेन वी गेट सेंटिमेंटल अबाउट थिंग्स दैट आर ऑफ अ वेरी फ्रूगल नेचर। व्हाट परसेंटेज ऑफ द टोटल मार्केट मार्क टू मार्केट डिलीवरी दैट एक्सचेंजेस हैंड्स, वॉल्यूम को इंट्राडे वॉल्यूम को छोड़ दो आप, टोटल मार्क टू मार्केट डिलीवरी के अंदर में टोटल कितना स्टॉक बोरो करके शॉर्ट सेलिंग है, उसका स्टैटिस्टिक्स मिनिस्क्यूल है। तो द नेचर ऑफ शॉर्ट सेलिंग इन कैश बाय बोरोइंग देम और इंट्राडे में कोई ने बड़ा माल बेचकर आज तक कवर किया, उसका कोई इंस्टांस नहीं है, एंड इट्स अ वेरी ओल्ड सर्कुलर। सो लेट्स फोकस ऑन प्राइस बिहेवियर and not give too much importance to just some bureaucrat taking out an old circular, old wine packaged in an old bottle और उसको बिना मतलब एक topic of conversation बना दिया। On a rare occasion something like this might end up getting happened, and to prevent that market malpractice, if actually SEBI has the willpower to implement this very old circular जो बार बार resurface करता है, it will be good for all of us. It will not create any distortion in market microstructure to create an upward bias in तेजी और a downward bias in मंदी। कोई सस्टेनेबल ट्रेंड पे इम्पैक्ट आने वाला नहीं है। इफ दिस एक्चुअली वर्क्स आउट, देन ऑन अ रेयर ओकेजन अगर कोई ऐसी गुंडागिरी करे तो 1 घंटे या 1 दिन के लिए अगर बाजार में कोई कबाड़ा हो सकता है फ्यूचर में, तो वो प्रिवेंट हो जाएगा। आई डोंट थिंक दिस इज ऑफ ए मार्केट माइक्रोस्ट्रक्चर चेंजिंग नेचर कि इससे कोई तेजी का ट्रेंड बढ़ जाएगा या मंदी का ट्रेंड बढ़ जाएगा। तेजी मंदी इससे नहीं कैलकुलेट होने वाली। 1 घंटे या 1 दिन के लिए कोई आके बाजार में लूट ना मचा ले, बस उतना ही परिवर्तन इससे आएगा। और अगर सेबी एक्चुअली विल पावर इसको करने का, तो सबके लिए मार्केट प्लेस सेफर हो जाएगा। इट डजंट चेंज द ट्रेंड। एनी लास्ट वन क्वेश्चन धवल, which I'll answer in five lines only? One
No, no,
last
sir.
question. If we are done, then great. Thanks.
Thank you, Sushil sir. So I think we are more or less done with today's session, and it was really insightful on Jiten sir, Nitin sir, and Sushil sir's part for sharing their thoughts. And I sincerely hope that our audience must get a feel of macros and even the fundamental and chart views. And definitely, this is one view, and this should be taken for a purpose of education or a starting point, and your due diligence is at most important after that. And definitely look forward to coming up with more such sessions so that we can have a holistic discussion where everybody voice their reviews, and definitely different perspectives add great value to everyone around. So thanks to everyone who joined and added value. This session is recorded, so those who joined late can listen to the conversation. Thank you so much. We'll join again soon. Good night. Take care.